Hey, we are back in Beit Shemesh. Had a beautiful wedding, fancy Flatbush. Gila Holzer, her name now. I think her name's Holzer. Um, Met the Khatan for the first time. Big Mets fans. That's pretty important. The father had a Mets scarf, wore it to the Ufruf, so pretty hardcore. Come from Flatbush and you're wearing a Mets scarf to your son's Ufruf. That's hardcore. So I dig it. So first, before we get to the Parashat apology, who kind of upset a lot of people. It's kind of like that old WNBC commercial where the guy has to apologize to all these people for Imus and Howard Stern what they said. I like to apologize before. So my cousin Yossi Fight, my brother-in-law, Aaron Egelblatt, my father, everyone I spoke to, Robert Mendelson, everyone I kind of spoke to last week about the dvar torah with the Marva Shemesh of Leah. Yeah, people were shaking their heads at me, shtickle, but I showed them exactly that. Literally, the Marva Shemesh says it, and Abravanel says it as well. The Marva Shemesh doesn't quote the Abravanel, but the Marva Shemesh does say that her thought process was, "I've had enough," and it's hard to say this about Leah. Wadi Maos, it's hard to say this, but it's hard to say David sinned, but it does. So no tzaddik was perfect. No person is perfect. Only four people in the world didn't sin, and for her level, this was considered a sin. At some level, tzaddik, the avos, the most, literally were like malachim kemat. So if 1% of her thought process was, "Thank you, Hashem, it's enough. I had enough," then for her considered a sin, for us not. But we see this concept with the Yoledes. We know the women are mechuyev to bring a korban, an ol and a chatas. Why? Because they said things when they were having labor pains. Some people have it worse than others. And for the shvua or the sin, what they say in labor, shabbat, again, it's almost an onex. There is so much pain. That's what we have to say. Women have to do this. Um, so again, apologies to those people I upset last week, and we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. Something a little bit less controversial. Like yikes. So this parsha, a lot of Torah talks about meeting Esav, and Yaakov rolls around and says, "Hili shar chamar tzon ve'eved," and the Medrash says, "One sar tzon chamar, one Eved, one Shifcha." The Medrash says he had 600,000 of the types of animals he sent to Esau. So he was wealthy. He worked so many years for Lavan. It's impossible. Was he lying? Did Yaakov really say, "I only had son, one Chamor, one Eved"? So Mar Shemesh takes a look at what tzaddikim are. Tzaddik really doesn't focus on what they have. They focus on what they need, what they need, and there's a big difference. You need to eat to survive. You don't need to go to papagayos or dance around at pit masters, Yerushalayim, and things like that. So there's the thing that you want, things you need, and we see Yaakov has this approach where in his eyes I'm not a sar, shofet, I'm not anything special. And that's the idea that he wants to tell Esav. It's not the idea that I don't have a lot. Esav was also rich. The problem was the brachos of Yitzchak was he's going to rule over Esav, and Yaakov wanted to show that's not what the situation is. Yes, I have a lot of stuff. I have children. I have a large family, but I'm not a sar shofet. I'm not anything special. I'm not a nasi. Uh, I was a worker at Lavan. I wasn't the owner of the place. I was a worker. I was Garty. And that's all I was. Not to get him more upset, not to rile him up, not to put his children in danger, to kind of diffuse the situation. But the main purpose is that while I have a lot, I don't lord it over you or anybody. And that's really the idea of a tzaddik. Some tzaddikim are wealthy, some are not. But the point is, whether they have or not, they don't go around that they're special better than other people. And Mershams takes another step, and talks about that this is kind of the brach of Yitin L'Chelakim, when The bracha of Yitzchak to Yaakov, Hashem will give you yitain, yachzor v'yitain. Give and give again. And davening, Hashem gives you more. And the Maharal Shemesh has an interesting idea, is where tzaddikim don't want to get money all at once. They don't want to be wealthy, which is kind of a shocking thing because that's against whatever we all want. Wouldn't it be great to get all your money January 1st and then work off that and then get another big chunk the next year? That'd be ideal, as opposed to every 2 weeks. Is it coming in? Is it late? If it's a holiday on Friday, do you get it a week later or a few days later? The company doesn't want to pay. They didn't get their check. You're not getting your check. Who wants that? But no, the opposite. Tzaddik actually wants that. And Maharal Shemesh says that Tzaddik sometimes does that intentionally. A tzaddik will sometimes give away their money, so they'll have very little, so they'll be forced to daven to kind of get more. And this is what he says. This is what a tzaddik does. A tzaddik wants to be in a position of davening all the time. Some people would rather be self-sufficient and not have to rely on people or Hashem. But a tzaddik doesn't want that. A tzaddik always wants to have his kesher. So Maharal Shemesh says a tzaddik will actually do the opposite of what people do. Is they actually intentionally, and there's stories of Hasidic Rebbes that they have X amount of money and they meet a yasam and a amana and they give it all away and they're left almost with nothing, Erev Pesach or things like that. And the wife, well, what do you do? Well, this is what they do. They have money, they give it away, and they want to rely on Hashem. They daven for it. They have betachon on Hashem. And that's what a tzaddik does. A tzaddik wants to do that. And this is perhaps why the Gemara talks about this idea that a tzaddik, Yesod Olam, the midah of Yesod, foundation. There's all different spheros. Yosef was Yesod, and Yaakov uses this midah of Yesod, which is this pipe, this connector of the top world to this world. And we know the Gemara tells about Chanina ben Dosa, who sustained the world for food because he only ate charuv, carrot, the whole week. And the question is, what's the kesher of this? And the point is, when you daven for yourself, yes, no, Hashem gives you, Hashem, if you don't deserve it, you don't get. But if you daven for other people only, then Hashem will help the other person, and Mamela, you'll get helped as well. The shefa comes down. This is why we always say, daven for someone else, and you'll get answered. A Rosh Hashanah, how do you get answered? Daven for the next person, and that person daven for you. The point is, if I daven l'shema for somebody else, I'll cause the shefa to come down, and Mamela, I'll get helped. And this is the idea of a tzaddik and what Yaakov is trying to do. Just like Chanina ben Dosa, he eats very little, so when he davens for shefa, it's 99.9 of the shefa is for the world. He's davening the world should be sustained. He's davening that people should have parnasa. I only need a charuv, some carob, which you see on the road. You see those trees growing, and everyone steps on that stuff because it doesn't taste so good. And because he davens for other people, not himself, the world gets answered. He gets answered, and that's what a tzaddik does. A tzaddik says, "I don't need so much. I will be the Yesod. I will daven for other people." And this is the idea that Maharal Shemesh brings down with Yaakov, who's trying to do, is I don't need very little. I'm going to daven. I'll be the foundation. I'll be the Yesod. I'll bring the shefa, all the bracha from Hashem, and I'll be the one to bring it down. Need too much. Shor Chamar. I'll give it away to my children. I'll give some to Esav. I'm not here for that. I'm here to be Yaakov Shalom, to be complete. Last thought on a unrelated point. Last year, I was able to learn the Sefer Chinuch for my son for his bar mitzvah, and mitzvah number 3 just blew me away. Usually, Eglah Rufa is my favorite. Bikurim is one of my top, but get a nasha. This parsha, the Malchitzim, the Yerach, Maharal Shemesh talks about Yerach, the thigh of a person, its foundation, Teresh Peh, a lot of stuff. But what's the point of this? And as we know that the Chinuch tries to do a shoresh and a reason, if he can, of what mitzvos are. So when I learned this literally a year ago, kind of like, I'm gonna have to mention this a year from now, and thank God I remembered. the shorish of the mitzvah not to eat from the Gid Nasha when the Malach of Esav hits him. And this chinuch, you can look it up. It's really a poetic how he says this. It's a remez. Apapish is belut source rabos, begulus yada amin v'yabne Esav. Even though you're going to be in gullus, in the hands of the nations, the hands of Esav, you should be betulchim shlo yogdu. You should be certain and you should be clear and confident that you will not be destroyed. Because just like Yaakov is hurt and the Shemesh comes up and he's better, so too the Shemesh is going to come up for the Jewish people, Liraposo, Benosavato, and it'll brought him from Tsar. Also you, King Yisrael Shemesh Mashiach, you're paid him Tsarenu. Mashiach is going to come and heal us, and will bring us to the Gula. And there's some days, some weeks, it's hard. It's hard to get the strength to have the same confidence. Let's be honest. My boys are going back to Miluim. He's probably going to go back to Gaza soon. I'm not sure where Moshe's going. It's difficult. This came from a shiva last week in Sayasit for Omer Nutri. It's difficult. 2 days ago, there was a shooting. A kid, a 10-year-old was killed right outside by Beitar, by Shraim. It's difficult. Some days are difficult, but we have hope. And we have Syria falling. Hopefully we'll see Iran falling. We're seeing miracles every day. And that's the point to get a Nasha. The get a Nasha is to see what the Malach did to Yaakov, but the sun came up for him. The sun came up and he was healed. And just like Yaakov was able to win over the supernatural, the Malachim, so too, we're going to have Mashiach that's going to take care of the Sar of Esav, and hopefully we'll see the Geula, the Karov. Shabbat Shalom.